Bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountains Podcast.
All right, episode 211. We have a very special person on here. He is going mute for the whole episode, so you won't hear him. He's just joining us, and we're just going to ask questions, and then he's just going to sit there and do anything. Does he speak, though? Shawn, are you there?
That's right. I'm here.
There he is. Long Island hiker. We saw his journey throughout the whole time he was on the Appalachian Trail. He tagged the podcast. We shared it and stuff. He finished, and now he's here tonight joining us to chat about his experience on the Appalachian Trail, because we all know it's not the same experience as one person to another. They all don't have the same experience. So welcome to the show, Shawn. How you doing, buddy?
Thanks, man. Doing good. Thanks for having me, man. The pleasure's mine.
Oh, no. I can't wait to hear your story. I can't wait to hear it. It's just, I mean, the whole time you were tagging us and sharing your stuff, it was all smiles. So it had to be a great time.
It was wild, man. I remember tagging you at like some wild points of the hike, like going up the mountain, finally having service in between storms and whatnot. But yeah, good stuff.
Nice. Yeah. So Shawn joins us tonight. We're going to chat a little bit with him a little bit later. We're going to shoot the shit first. And of course, we got to start it off with a bang. And the bang was the rescue that happened in the Adirondacks recently. So hiker found alive after 18-hour Dick's Range search. So being Wednesday night, last Wednesday, search expanded for more than 20 rangers by Thursday morning. 58-year-old Mechanicville man was pulled alive from the Dick's Range Thursday afternoon after spending 2 days alone in the backcountry. This was his second time in as many winters as search team has pulled him from the field. The rescue came in at an 18-hour search involving the DEC, Forest Rangers, and State Police Aviation Unit. Wife reported him overdue Wednesday night after losing contact earlier today. By the time the call came in, conditions of the range had already turned. The range sits in the southeastern corner of the high peaks with a cluster of 5 summits connected by exposed ridge lines and sparsely traveled trails that can be nearly impossible to follow when the snow is there. The hiker was found Thursday afternoon off the Lillian Brook Trail, an unmarked connector that sees far less traffic than the main routes. In summer, it functions as a shortcut. In winter, with no packed trail to follow, limited landmarks, it becomes a different proposition. When the rangers reached him, the signs were consistent with that prolonged exposure and the conditions: hypothermia, frostbite, fatigue, etc. He luckily was out there for 2 days, and then when they found him, the temperature was up. He was shivering quite quickly. They airlifted him to Saranac Lake for evaluation and treatment. So once again, this happened. This is the same guy that was in the Seward Range last year that arrived to the trailhead an hour late, only to realize that the trailhead was closed, causing him to walk an extra 3 miles before the real trek began. After summiting the first peak in the Seward Lanes on his 4-mountain journey, Todd's phone battery began to die, and he checked his pack for a portable charger, but it wasn't there. With no battery and no trail to follow, he had to trust his gut, which is, your gut should have said, turn the fuck around. Yeah, so after his phone died, he began following ribbons tied to trees, and he thought they would be the way home. After several hours, he reached a conclusion that they weren't going to help him, and he was later told by rangers that Hunter used a ribbon to identify areas. His spouse called the DEC Ranger Dispatch at 8:45 p.m. on February 25th, 2025, to report that the hiker was overdue. Before the hiker's spouse had to call to initiate the rescue, the hiker had called them expressing that he was tired and moving slowly. The DEC was able to use that call earlier to determine the hiker's last known location. It was near the Lillian Brook Trail, involving lots of opportunity for him to go off trail. Frostbite and hunger set in and such, and they located him in the Seward Range on the Alouse Tad, I'm going to have trouble with this one. Alaluska?
Yeah, that's close enough.
Alaluska lean-to trail off the Northville Placid Trail, which is over 4 miles away from the normal course. Ranger Adams, who was the first searcher to locate him, said you need a lot more gear in the winter time than you think you do. And he said another thing is you shouldn't hike alone in the Adirondacks if you can avoid it. You definitely in a group, you have more people to have more gear. Like we heard from Scott and Joe last week, telling us about that. One person can bring definitely different stuff and stuff. Such. The one thing that I wanted to point out, and that other people are pointing out as well, is that with this time, once again, this is his second time that he's been rescued out of here. Luckily, the first one didn't involve a helicopter rescue, but this one did. The forest rangers aren't volunteers; they are public employees, and once a search goes into the overnight hours, which most do because everybody calls for their frantic. Later on, they want to see if they can get them out in the daylight, get themselves out in the daylight, but they don't. Overtime stacks up. When you do the math, I heard this from the Adirondack Mountain News, so credit them for this. The two rescues alone likely ran $45,000 to $50,000 in taxpayer money. And that's on the soft side. Gear, vehicles, stuff like that, dispatch, wear and tear on the aircraft. And then, New York runs hundreds of rescues a year. I think they remember saying they have over 300 in a calendar year. Ranger overtime tied to search and rescue has blown past $2 million annually. So 2 winter rescues for one person, that's a little bit of nothing, but it's definitely a chunk of time and risk and such. The crazy thing is, I mean, it's not crazy, but I guess where people can be thankful that New York doesn't bill hikers. That the DEC said is over and over, if people are afraid of getting charged, they'll wait too long to call for help, and then it'll become a casualty. It doesn't mean that it doesn't cost anything. That's what the whole thing is. So if this keeps happening, who knows? New York State might be like, hey, we're going to start after charging people like New Hampshire does. And I think New Hampshire has a great way to do things it's their hike safe card that works well, but also their negligence kind of card. If someone even has like a hike safe card and you are negligent of hiking in the winter, you don't have any gear, you're just going up to Summit, Washington. You said it was going to be a bluebird day, but you fuck up and all of a sudden you are caught off trail, stuff like that. Winds are high, snow's coming in. You have to pay for that rescue. And that's not like $1,000 or $2. That could be $20,000 to $30,000. So it's definitely crazy once again that this guy with the 2 mountains that I know of from my friends and previous friends that have hiked in the Adirondacks, these aren't easy ranges at all. These are one of the most difficult ranges in the Adirondacks that I've heard that you can hike, and it just keeps getting worse and worse in the winter. So this once again, I guess a lot of the talk is that this guy isn't being charged for this, and will they charge him for this? And crazy incident that this happened. At least he didn't like walk into the hike and realize he didn't have a charger, and then his phone died like after the first summit. Like seriously, like if my phone died within like one of my first summits, I'd be like, screw this, like totally turn around. But this guy was like, nah, let me get these peaks and then maybe I'll think about it on the way up. So just crazy instance.
So it wasn't a planned overnight. It was supposed to just be an out and back or whatever, come back before sunset, correct?
Yep. And he did stay 2 days, 2 days, right, Dad? Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2 days.
Yeah, that's what I gathered.
This guy's pretty lucky. I mean, second time too, and was the first one an overnight as well? I mean, probably rescued at least.
You mean the prior year? I don't know offhand if it was or wasn't.
Yeah, I think it was within 24 hours he was rescued.
Yeah.
Even still, I mean, wow, second time. I don't know. I mean,
yeah. So Shawn, what I would point out is if this is his second time, I'm kind of surprised after the first time he doesn't buy a satellite messenger.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Or the wife doesn't make him buy it.
Yep. That's. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah.
And one of my other interesting comments is she calls at 8:45 p.m., which on the one hand kind of seems late. I mean, that's well after sundown. I don't know when service is available. If he had hiked out, say at 4:00, when he's going to first have cell service up there. I know in the Catskills, sometimes it's a half an hour before I can make a cell phone call when I get out. But 8:45 seems a little late for somebody to do a 9/11. But I just really wonder, he was the prior year, if I was basically stranded out even in the Catskills, and didn't have a satellite messenger before I went back, I'd definitely get one. And I also think that if you're up in the Whites, the Adirondacks in the winter, particularly if you're solo and it's really cold out at night, if the temperatures are going to be below 40, maybe even just below 45, you better bring a sleeping bag with you at a minimum. You can for 4 pounds, you can put a sleeping bag in your pack. Arguably, you never use it, but it's really an essential for winter hiking by yourself. So that's my take on it. Shawn, you got anything else to add?
I mean, the fact that it was the second time, both times didn't have that satellite device. Like you said, he could be carrying a sleeping bag. This guy needs a crash course in winter hiking, because it's, you got to respect winter. It's a whole different world than the spring and summer, or the fall, the peak foliage. I don't know, man. He's lucky. He's going to get a name of 9 lives. I wouldn't want to play with any more lives. Yeah. In time. I don't know. If it happened to me, I'd be kicking myself. I would feel embarrassed. I'd feel shameful. I don't know, man. I mean, at least he kept on going out there. He didn't let the first time spook him too much, but it didn't sound like he learned from that, Now he's putting rescuers and, he got helicopter lifted. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing in the beginning of his experience, just not knowing that the trailhead was closed, and then his phone battery died, and then he didn't have a charger. It adds up within the first 2-3 hours that you're kind of on that way to getting in an accident, and you're getting yourself screwed. And he basically did. Well, the whole thing. Sorry, that first one in the Seward Range. The way my friend told me, he was seriously. It says 4 miles off the course. He headed in one completely opposite direction he should have went. I think somebody told me that he just started going down. He didn't care where the trail was. He just started going down and got seriously lucky that he ran into that lean-to off the 4 miles off of the summit. It's. I don't know. Within the Adirondacks, I would, with knowing how thick it is and stuff, and with the slides and stuff and the ice and the snow, I'd never just go down. I would just be like, this might look easy, and just descend. That's just scary.
He reaches a certain point where his decision making is going to be off because of the hypothermia. And it's also an illustration that often it's not one big catastrophic event or mistake. It's a series of little stumbles that leads to your being stranded out in the wilderness at night. So, but it can creep up on everyone. And I kind of have to admit, as a frequent solo hiker in the Catskills, that you develop a certain sense of complacency, after having done it so many times and doing it without incident. But I still, to this day, it's in my backpack, that my blue go-to bag, if anything not really, really bad happened to me, but bad enough that I would still need a change of gear. I carry it with me all winter, and hopefully this winter will go by and I'll never need it, just like the prior 7, 8, 9 winters.
Yeah. So Tad, big question. Should he be charged with this now that it's a second time? And or should, it's almost like, you have an multiple instances on your license or something like that. You've been speeding 3 times.
Yeah. He's no longer a first offender, so to speak. right?
This is the asshole
Okay.
that's going to make people getting charged for the first time getting rescued in Adirondacks. It's soon to come. But it's stuff like this, and it's going to keep on happening.
Yeah, my view is that if the law isn't already in place to charge him for it, then you can't create a law that retroactively charges him for it. But what I think would be a good system to have is like they have in New Hampshire, and maybe like a little added bump to it. New Hampshire, it's $25 per person for a hike safe, $35 for a family. If you need to raise $2 million for rescues in New York, you got to sell 80,000 of those tickets at $25 a piece. But what you really ought to do is you ought to charge people $50 a piece. But they get the price knocked down in half if they watch a 5 or 10 minute video on Hike Safe and Leave No Trace, right? And answer a few questions at the end to show that they paid attention. Then you give them half off and you're getting a double benefit. You're
Perfect.
you're subsidizing the rescues with the sale of these Hike Safe cards or whatever you want to call them. And you're arguably educating more people on, backcountry etiquette, hike safe, leave no trace, etc. So I think you can turn it into a win-win. But I'm not an elected official in the state of New York or anywhere else, although sometimes I act like one.
You
So,
should be. You should be.
Yeah, Tad for governor.
fuck that. I'm going to be like Donald Trump. I'm a first election. I'm going for president, right?
You got the money. Do it.
Yeah, 2028. That's it. Yeah. I'm going to start selling flags, red flags, white letters. It's just going to say TAD, TAD 2028. And Stosh, you could be my VP.
With the amount of
Shawn,
support
we're going to make you Secretary of the Interior because you've walked a lot of the country. Yeah, I think we've got a campaign going on now. You hear this is the kickoff. Fueled by, we're not going to accept donations like normal politicians, just hard ciders.
Yeah.
There we go.
How American is that? Apple pie, the hard cider.
that sounds fantastic. It sounds just like what I want it to be.
Oh yeah.
But
Damn.
power. I mean, that's what it comes down to. You can't just open up your car door and start walking up a mountain. Like, you got to have some knowledge. You got knowledge to Google Maps to that trailhead, but it doesn't stop there.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Figure out what the temperature is at the top as opposed to the bottom, and so forth.
Yeah, it's definitely it's funny to see all the stuff on the internet about it because he is getting bashed and apparently somebody had him as an interview after his first incident and now that's come to probably bite him in the ass and he didn't learn his freaking mistakes. So it's just we'll see where this goes. We have that new DEC commissioner. We'll see what she does with it. Amanda Lefton. Maybe she's a little aggressive. She'll go after him. So whatever. All right. So screw that guy. Hopefully he doesn't screw all of us in the future. So let's, Tad, maybe we should start our own hike safe thing.
Yeah, I think, we kind of do,
we support,
we have the podcast. You can buy us a hard cider. That's kind of like selling a hike safe card. And, we give a lot of our money to the Forest Ranger Foundation. We may never, ever raise enough money to buy them their own helicopter, but we'll buy them some other stuff.
We'll get them a blanket or something.
Yeah. But if you ever hear us say that we just bought the Forest Rangers a helicopter for rescues, you just need to remember, never, ever get into that helicopter, okay? Because it's going to be so cheap, it shouldn't be flying. I'm just throwing that out there.
Good point.
Just if they find you in the woods and that helicopter's overhead, that on the bottom it says inside the line, say, sorry, I'd rather stay out here.
Yeah.
I feel safer on the ground.
I agree. All right, so on to the next topic. Oh, by the way, I have in the show notes in the link, there's going to be a link for Jeffrey Ronick. He talks to Ranger Adams about the rescue, and Jeff was awesome and helped us out with our chats with the DEC and all the Rangers and stuff like that. So Jeff, thank you once again, and also look into that because it's a really good 10-minute interview about that rescue. So thank you, Tad, for showing me that as well. So. Next topic. So apparently there is going to be a new trail built on Ahokan High Point. So Western section of Ahokan High Point Trail will be permanently closed due to numerous problems. It was a shitty trail anyway. I really never liked it. New trail will be built. And it looks like, I don't know if they're asking, Ted, are they asking the public which one they want to build, or are they building both of these?
I got the impression that there's alternative 1, alternative 2.
Okay.
I really searched around for better intel that we could share with our listeners on the why they're doing it, the rationale or the preference one trail over the other, and how to communicate with the DEC. But frankly, the only thing I could find is, just send them an email.
Yeah, there ain't shit.
Tell them which one. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty sparse.
Yeah.
Maybe they just don't want to be criticized anymore.
What did you think about you've been on the western side. I think it's the going down to that one point of where the campsite was okay. After that, it's a complete clusterfuck. Just mountain laurel, trees everywhere. No one maintains it. It's on your side hilling.
Yeah, when you turn back to the south.
Yep.
So I've hiked that trail twice. Both times they stand out in memory, which is, for me, somewhat unique because I've kind of done a lot of hiking in the Catskills. And to have been on this trail 2 times, everything from the main trail going into Ahokan High Point and then off to the west, starting down that slope until it makes the hard left and head south. I think that's all wonderful. And then when you do make that hard left, boy, does it really go downhill fast. And the first time I hiked it, the snow was really, really super deep. This trail it's just like walking down a riverbed. It was covered with snow, and it's one of the only times or few times I've been out snowshoeing in the Catskill that you step in one of these snow holes and you sink so fast that I literally did a somersault going forward because the trail is in really bad shape. But it is a nice forested area, but in the summer, when I went back and hiked it one summer, it was brutal. I mean, just overgrown, rocky, washed out. So you look at what they propose. I would say they have option 1, option 2. Option 1 is, they say, is more milder than option 2. I would say to just even go further to the west than option 1 and loop it almost all the way back to the start is what I would suggest. I think that would be a great loop hike. And it would also lessen the amount of traffic through that area where the beavers are.
Yeah, good point. And it shows, this, it looks like I would say not halfway through the hike, instead of going 3/4 of the way through the hike, it starts the new trail that they're proposing. The Trail 1, it both looks like they're 2.2 miles long. Mm-hmm. Trail 1 seems to be a little bit more or less aggressive with the elevation gain. And then Trail 2 seems to be a little bit more aggressive, going through kind of like some ledgy areas. So it looks to be a good, hopefully, once again, like the last time I went through that trail, I went to look for that plane crash. And I think it was like January when it was 72 degrees. It's very odd. But we found the plane crash, but going through that part, I felt finding the plane crash was easier than walking through the trail because it was just so overgrown with mountain laurel. And I mean, if anybody's ever bushwhacked through mountain laurel, it's not fun. You think breaking trail through snow is difficult? Breaking trail through frickin' mountain laurel is like walking through Spider-Man's Spidey webs and you're just floating in air.
I'd say it's more like going through a car wash with brushes. Yeah. What about you, Shawn? You ever been to this area?
No, I never did the Ahokan Point. No, I did the rail trail. So I guess the point is like beyond the water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what you actually see when you're hanging out at the reservoir and you look up and you see that beautiful mountain. That's Ahokan High Point.
The pyramid. Yeah, that's cool. So it looks like a pretty good idea. Thank you for adding that, Tad. Really appreciate it. Ahokan High Point is a great freaking hike. up and back, not going around that point, permanently closed now, but we'll see what they want. I'm not sure. Maybe 2 looks a little bit funner, more aggressive, but number 1 looks to be a little bit, on the softer side and maybe, have some good stuff. So we'll see.
We'll see. But my sense is this is a great area for somebody who is just getting started in the type of hiking that you're going to get into in the Catskills, because you can hike out that initial trail as far as you can make it, and it just gets progressively harder and harder until you get up to the Ahokan High Point, and then give people a mild and mellow way out. Or why have just one way out? Why not make 2? Have option 1 or 2, and then that other option that I described that brings you back. That whole ridge walk back I think it's really nice. It's a really nice open forest, and there's some great views along the way.
True.
So.
Cool. Yeah.
And it for me, I would say there's a very, very high probability of having a sighting of a bear going through there.
Oh yeah.
All the berry bushes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a high probability area, especially going up in the area of Ahokan is got all that high berry cobble bush stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, and interesting. So cool. We'll see where that goes, and we'll keep you updated. If you want, I can forward you an email. I got an email about it. So, I'll send you an email about it if anybody wants to connect with me. So, Tad, what a mountain lion sighting in the Catskills?
So I saw this on Insta, and we all know that Instagram is a highly reliable source of information. And so before logging in tonight to do our thing on the podcast, I saw that Lorraine Anderson, who on Instagram is known as Feeling Fit Forever, she reported yesterday that her and her partner Kevin, on their way out to the Drybrook Ridge, posted that they saw a mountain lion cross the road in front of their car. It had a long tail and distinctive features. Long tail, distinctive features. She's confident it wasn't the bobcat. And there you go, folks. I think that's all we need. There's confirmation. And I also point out that this is really, Stosh, it's not that long after you started your Catskill Mountain Lion Tour company.
True.
That people are now seeing mountain lions. So, yeah, I think this summer, it's going to be a new thing in the Catskills. People coming up here, hanging out with Stosh on the weekend, drinking hard ciders, and seeing, amongst other things, mountain lions. So,
I mean, I can't say that I believe it. Once again, I will not believe that there's a mountain lion here. I personally would have slammed on the brakes, tried to get a picture, number 1, and then number 2 would have gotten a picture of the paw prints in the snow.
At least, because that could easily identify if it was a mountain lion or not. The size are right there, and they are brand freaking new. They're not like cat prints that have been, melted over in the course of like dog prints. Everybody's like, look at this mountain lion print, but it's a dog print that's been melted over 3 days.
So if you let's just hit pause on the recording. Give me a couple seconds. I'm going to type into Google Gemini mountain lion. I'm going to get the photos in just a second to validate.
Oh, okay.
Right off of, there we go. Off of Google Gemini. I'll post those.
Yeah. Okay.
Fresh, it's fresh from the trail.
I'm not saying, I'm not denying that she saw one. I'm not, but like, I would have seriously just slammed on the brakes, and because of the crazy evidence of no mountain lions being there, and if she saw one, there would have been tracks across either side of the road. I would have gotten those immediately. And then, I don't know, you can't submit them in the DEC because they'll deny it like they always say, but I've, once again, seen the probability of a mountain lion in the past 40 years here. It's just nearly impossible.
I strongly disagree with that.
What?
I'm a believer. Absolutely.
What? There's thousands of trail cameras out there, and not one has got a good, solid thing.
All right, okay. There's thousands of trail cameras out there, and not one of them has ever gotten a video or a picture of Santa and his reindeer on Christmas Eve. But Santa's real. Okay. So let's just stop the nonsense.
True.
That's it.
I mean, Shawn, You hiked over 2,000 miles on the Appalachian Trail. Did you see a mountain lion?
I saw 7.
7. Oh God! All
There-
right,
there
all right.
you go.
But
All right.
but that was down in Tennessee, though.
The verdict's in.
The Mason-Dixon line, nothing.
Yeah, right above that area. It hits that southern area, and you see them all the time. But up north, you don't see them unless it's in your backyard in a populated area. And it's all blurry and stuff. I didn't quite see it. I couldn't get a picture.
It's on the ring cap.
Yeah. So, I mean, but if you were a mountain lion, which would you rather do? Run after a fisher, have to corner it, capture it, kill it, and then gnaw at it through the fur, through the this, through the that, or you could just hang out in some highly domesticated, suburbanized area, knock over a couple garbage cans, and eat like Taco Bell, Wendy's. You could even eat like Donald Trump. You could have some Big Macs. Okay. So if I was a mountain lion, I would be hanging out in some suburban backyard. That's where I would be. Okay. Fuck living in a cave. I'm going to be in the crawl space over the garage.
Good point.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll allow it. All right. So we'll check into that. You said the Dry Brook Ridge.
Yes.
So, well, I guess I'm calling out tomorrow and going to up there and seeing if I can find the evidence because the paw prints are going to be there.
Awesome. Do it. Yeah, I'll have her send you the coordinates. Do some plaster castings too.
Yeah, right. I could calculate the length of the stride times the size of the paw prints, determine the weight, and then see if it's a mountain lion stuff. So,
and if we never hear from you again, then we truly know mountain lions are real.
And DEC is covering up.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Tesla's sighted parked alongside the road on the way to Dry Brook Ridge.
Yeah. Crazy.
In reach, Stash, please.
I will do my research. All right. So thank you once again to the monthly supporters, Bob McLean, Chris Garabee, Eric Rosario, Jeff Jotz, Vicky Ferrer, Mikey S., John Comiskey, Summit Seekers, Desert City Radio, Betsy A., Denise W., Vanessa, and Jim C. Thank you guys very much for supporting the show. Greatly appreciate it. Also, thank you to the amazing sponsors of the show. So capture your love story against breathtaking backdrops with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly specializes in adventure couple photography, and she'll immortalize your moments amidst the stunning landscapes of the Catskills, Adirondacks, and White Mountains. She'll craft timeless images that reflect unique bond and nature's grandeur. Embark on an unforgettable photographic journey with Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. Also, check out the last episode and discover the wilderness with Trailbound Project. Our expert-led hiking and backpacking education programs offer unparalleled outdoor experiences. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned adventurer, join us to learn essential skills, explore stunning trails, and connect with nature. Start your journey today with Trailbound Project and unlock the wonders of the great outdoors. Once again, our last episode 210, was with Scott and Joe, the founders of Trailbound Project, and they did an amazing job of talking why they're doing the best hiking and backpacking school on the East Coast. So, next question. Are you really outdoors? Mention the podcast in one of your hikes through social media, and we'll chat about it on the show. Tag us by typing at ITL Catskill MTM Podcast on your post. So Kelsey P, aka Hiker Yogi, was out in the Devil's Path tagging Indian Head and Twin, and then the next day went up Windham High Peak, and then followed by another beautiful day going up Table, Peekamoose, and Lone. Kelsey is killing it. Like I'm guessing she's got to be going after her grid. That's
absolutely,
absolutely, no doubt.
Yeah. And before you go on, check out her Instagram post where she posted the Summit Rock on Peekamoose. Which
it's buried.
Yeah, it's about half buried, if not more, in snow.
That's crazy. Awesome stuff. Thank you, Kelsey, for tagging the show. Big Al's adventure guide was gliding down Orchard Point, which was crazy. It looked like Tad. I was confused of where he was at first, but then I noticed Orchard. It's not gliding. It was skiing down Orchard Point. Unbelievable. That's some steep shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked fun, but they've got the snow out there this winter to do it. And Big Al knows, the Catskill terrain. He knows where to go in the Catskills and find some good slopes to make some turns on.
Yeah.
Good for him. Yep.
Yeah, it was crazy. Check out the video. Mark, a.k.a. Stoodster1, was skiing in Minnewaska. Mark, good to hear from you again. Friend of mine that I hiked several times with. So Steve, a.k.a. Environmentality, was on Southwest Hunter. Only 6 more to go at this point. Then went Hunter reviews. I don't know if that counted towards his 6. So if you're still on 6, Steve, you'll be there soon. Thank you for tagging the show. Also, T-Bold Outdoors did Twin in beautiful conditions. Everybody had great conditions this weekend. So I was wondering why everybody was tagging me, but then I was just like, oh shit, it's a beautiful weekend. So had to be out. Cam 5 did Indian Head and Twin with adorable dog Logan, then tagged Wyndham afterwards. So that sounds like gridding to me. A lot of people doing this grid stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Tad's just like, this is like my 8th time.
Yeah, if you have the opportunity to hike all the time in the Catskills, it's a good way to spread yourself around is start filling out a grid.
Yeah. Joanne, a.k.a. Beyond Blazes, was outside the line in the Adirondacks enjoying Noonmark Mountain. Looks like she had a great time looking at the beautiful peaks out there. Rachel Jean, the Gypsy Queen, tagged Blackhead Mountain. Is Rachel going after her first 3,500? Was that, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I think that was for her winter requirement of her first round of the 3,500. Right. She had some great photos, especially going through that beech wood forest as you get to the steep north face going up Blackhead. And she reported that the surface conditions going up Blackhead that day weren't icy, but that all could be different this weekend, depending on temperature variations, if we get any rain up there.
Yeah, we'll definitely chat about that today.
Changes. Yep.
That changes today. Today was just insane.
Oh, I think somebody was up there. That's the sense I'm getting.
And all
right. Well, moving along.
Yeah, Scott, Catskill Mountain Brew. Good to hear from you again, sir. Summited South Double Top with the crew, and the one at Catskill High Peak Round Top and Plateau the next day. Scott's going after the grid. Tad, this Sunday, he might be finishing. So if you have something,
really? His grid? Yeah.
Yes, I think he's doing Panther. I don't know if it's his grid or is his single season
Winters. Okay.
Maybe. So I will be there. So Shawn, if you want to make the long drive, Panther Mountain this Sunday.
All right.
Cool. All right.
Panther Mountain, isn't that right next to Mountain Lion Mountain?
Oh, I'll have to go up there and check.
Okay. It's upstate. It's right there.
Anything upstate is Mountain Lion country.
That far on the map.
Yeah. Yep. I have to pinpoint all the areas, but we'll have to get to that. All right. Next, Danielle, a.k.a. Witch in... excuse me. These hard ciders. Danielle, a.k.a. Witch in the Wilderness, did some hiking in the Gunks. Tad, say that for me, please.
The Schwangunk Ridge?
Yes, but the falls.
Oh, Owassing.
Owassing.
Yeah.
You always say cut out the T, right?
Yeah. And then she went over on the Bull Wheel Trail. I know that whole route. And it has the name Bull Wheel because it was the top of the old ski area over there. Yeah, and I haven't been there in quite a few years, but for the longest time, you could see the cable and some of the old lift equipment, but not the lift towers were in that area.
Nice.
Very popular with boulderers and climbers.
Nice. Cool. That's a cool area. So once again, and then when a pipe eater's killing them back and stopped at Rough Cut Brewing afterwards. So have you been to Rough Cut yet?
I haven't been to it, and I don't know where it is exactly. I'm going to have to check that out.
Same. I was like, ooh, Rough Cut. I've never heard of that. So hold on. Rough Cut. Oh, this says Rough Butt. Sorry, that's not the way it is. Rough Cut
Brewing. We know it's in your search history.
Kerhonkson.
Oh, okay.
I can say that right. Kerhonkson. I can say that right. So, okay, cool. Danny, aka Diabazio, was up on Overlook Mountain checking out the ruins and the beautiful views. Once again, everybody, I'm jealous that everybody got out this week. I actually got out, but in a different way. Brad, aka Labradante, did the Blackhead Range on a stunning day, went from all the way, he said he went from Barnum Road up to Blackhead and then back. And and apparently he said that the post holes were enormous going up to Camel's Hump. So, and I was stunned by that because, like, I'm pretty sure only the dedicated do that in the winter, but I guess not. So,
it's it's what a way not to enjoy a hike, to go out post holing.
True. Last but not least, Joe, aka J.K. Plow, went up plateau for his first part of his February grid in the evening. So Joe, if you follow his Instagram, J.K.A. Plow, goes up and is starting to hike in the evenings. Cool to see. Had the moonrise going up, and I'm jealous because that is something I would like to do, to try. Yeah. Right? I mean, Shawn, you probably did that a lot on the AT.
Yeah, I did my fair share of night hiking. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't even imagine. It's got to be a whole different time. Like, just the sounds and stuff got to be pretty crazy. So. Yeah.
I mean, it's going to happen, but I prefer not to do it because you're just focusing on your foot placement.
True.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And then sometimes you got to watch out for those pesky mountain lions that are going to jump on top of you. Yeah. See? And last but not least, Long Island Hiker did not tag us in anything that he's been doing lately.
What?
No.
Yeah, but he's going to talk.
Off the show. Let's mute him.
You know what? He was mute the whole time. So who is this guy talking?
Yeah.
So awesome. Once again, thank you everybody for tagging the show. Really appreciate it. Glad everybody got out. It's a fantastic weekend to get out. So glad everybody got out, having a good time, enjoying the snow, because this is one of the best years we've had in the Catskills in the past 10 to 15 years of snow. So get out there, enjoy it while you can. I don't know how long it's going to last. It's probably not going to last long. This weekend's going to be insane. So buy us a hard cider to support the show. If you think you're doing this good job and you want to show us some support, buy us a coffee hard cider on buymeacoffee.com. Link is in the show notes. I'll also put up a link on the Instagram and Facebook as well. Also, rate the show. 5 stars is really all we want. Really? Please? Yeah. Because those 2 people that gave us, I was going back over those and I saw those ones, that guy that disagreed with us about the Harriman Park hunting thing when he thought we were disagreeing with it, but we really weren't. We were agreeing with it, and then just about the hiker safety. And then the other person about the intro was too loud. And it's like, you can freaking skip that shit. So, but whatever. Anybody you can, get on there. 5-star rating. Check it out. So previous hikes. Who wants to go first with their previous hike? Let's have the featured guest go first. Sorry, Ted.
Shawn.
Shawn, I see you've been doing some crazy stuff. Are you even in Long Island right now?
Yeah, I'm back on the islands.
Okay.
I got back a few days ago, but yeah, previous hikes for me. So the week of Valentine's Day, I went down to Florida and I did a backpacking trip again. I did a little 5-dayer. It's called the Ocean to Lake Trail. It's if you go into southern Florida, Lake Okeechobee, and then you walk eastbound to the Atlantic Ocean, it's about 60 miles. So like I was cooped up in the winter. This was like after 2 weeks of the frozen tundra on the islands and whatnot. And I was like, I got to go do, I got to get out of here, do something. And Florida's, I got a lot of family in Florida, but also this particular trail was like the first out-of-state backpacking trail that I did like 5-6 years ago. So I was like, all right, let me give it a shot. Let me do it again. I did it in 4 days last time. I was like, let me go more leisurely. I did 5. But yeah, it's Florida State has a trail called the Florida Trail, which is, basically like an Appalachian Trail of the Florida Trail. And then this particular section that I did was a spur trail off the Florida Trail. So if you're doing a traditional Florida Trail hike, you're not going to do the spur trail. But if you want to train for a Florida Trail, this little 60-mile hike has everything in that 1,000-mile hike that you'll experience. Swamps, gators. This was a very dry year because 5 years ago when I hiked it, all the swampy sections, I was walking ankle deep to above the knee deep water. And this year, those sections were barely even muddy. So what a complete difference. That was great because it was dry enough so those water crossings weren't as high, but my water sources were lower. So all those little ponds where one gator lives used to be, 4 feet deep. Now it's like 1.5 feet deep. So, you got to pay attention when you're getting water out of those spots or bypass them and try to find something different. But yeah, it was a good hike. Needed it. And I caught at the right time because the weekend before and the weekend, I started like midweek, hiked through a weekend and finished midweek. But the weekends before and while I was on the trail was like some trail group hike. When I was almost finishing like my last day, I passed people coming the opposite way. They were going to, they started from the ocean going to the lake. 25 people. So, if I had ran into those people at camp, it would have been annoying because, you put 4 tents and it's maxed out. I can't imagine like 25 people, but yeah, I lucked out with that. And, I got out of 15-degree weather and got some 75-degree weather, but it's good.
Gators.
Awesome.
Yeah. Gators. Yeah. Gator every day, man. But, you can't get spooked because once you're I did the trail once before, so I knew what to expect. But even so, if it was my first time doing it, you get to know you're walking in some water, but the gator is not in this body of water. They're in the bigger canals where you're on the footbridge crossing that canal. So, but yeah, man, it's like Jurassic Park meets Lion King as far as trails are concerned.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, Shawn, because I know our listeners, they all want to know the answer to the following question. Gator versus mountain lion. Who's going to win?
Ooh, I would say mountain lion because the gator are only dangerous when they're in the water. A lot of times when I've spot them, they be right above the water on the bank. But when they see you, it's not like they come at you on land. They scoot back into the water and you never see them again. So, mountain lions, water, land, you're pretty much, but the gators, if you're on land, you're good.
Well,
all right.
Yeah. So how close did you come within a gator at that time?
Yeah, with less than 10 feet.
Huh.
But they were camera shy. It was hard to take a picture of them. The only good pictures I got was I was in brush and I saw them before they saw me. All the good pictures of them sunbathing, I got within 10 feet and then they just went into the water and then they don't pop up again. So
wow,
you're lost. But
I had a guest, Henry De La Vega. He was on here a while back. He was the Triple Crowner, and he said he did the Florida Trail and then did the Appalachian Trail. So he did the full thing.
Yeah.
And he said one of the nights he camped out, he had no place to camp. So where he camped was gator territory. And when he got up and opened up his tent, there was gators lined up around outside of him. He was He might
have been in the Everglades on that particular story, because I know in the Everglades there's 30 miles where you're just walking through their territory, and the camp is just
wow. There's a question. Here's the question: ticks or gators?
I'd rather deal with gators, man. Ticks are the worst. Yeah, you could see a
sure.
gator. You could prepare for ticks, but like out of nowhere, you'll feel a tick. Like you'll always know that there's a gator around, even if you don't see them and you spend 2 minutes looking at the water, you're going to see bubbles. And so they're underwater, making those bubbles. So,
yeah. Wow. Crazy. So Shawn got out in the Florida Trail and tells us some crazy stuff. Tad, what do you got to tell us?
Oh, man. I really don't know where to start. So, yeah, I went out hiking, of course, on Saturday. My first preference was to knock off West Kill and North Dome at the end of February, to kind of not to close out February on my grid, but to make February 2027 easier to complete on the grid. North Dome and West Kill were going to be my hike on Saturday. But when I was driving down Spruceton Road, the place where I was going to park was just all snowed in and hadn't been plowed. So I had to go to Plan B. And Plan B, which was something that I had thought about, but I wasn't enthused about, was hiking up Southwest Hunter and then over to West Kill. I knew that the conditions would be such that bushwhacking up the notch to West Kill wasn't going to be a good idea because of the snow depth. But I did have in the back of my mind bushwhacking down Southwest Hunter through the notch and then picking up the trail and doing West Kill. So I drove out to the end of Spruceton Road. I was the second car at the very end. The parking lot just before that was, by 7:45 that morning, I'm going to say more than half full. Nonetheless, I grabbed my gear, started off on the trail, threw the snowshoes on when I got to the junction at the falls, and I continued up on the Devil's Path to Southwest Hunter. Every now and then I'd step off the trail for a few steps, to see what the snow conditions were like. And I don't know if you know, just after Geiger Point, there's the little shortcut over to the rail trail off the Devil's Path.
The triangle?
Yeah, that triangle, you just cut through it. So I did that just to get a sense of how much support or lack of support you would get from the snow if you were going off trail, and get a sense of the snow depth. And I have to say the snow wasn't all that supportive. At best, you would still sink in 6 inches, but very often you just blow right through and your leg would go all the way down, 3 feet or more. So I picked up the rail trail, continued out to Southwest Hunter, signed into the canister. I was the first person there that day. In fact, the trail on the way out looked like nobody else had been out there, going up from Spruceton and out to Southwest Hunter. So I signed in and I threw on my gear as if I was going to trail hike back down. Right? If I was going to bushwhack, I wouldn't have put my fleece on. I would have put a light shell on to go bushwhacking because you're going to generate more heat. You're going to get more snow falling on you. You want a shell on to keep the snow from sticking to you and then, making you cold as you get wet and whatnot. So I'd somewhat reconciled that it was going to be too difficult to bushwhack down. I was just going to trail hike up West Kill. And so I started hiking back down that little stub trail towards the rail trail. And I got to the turn where you turn right and you continue on the rail trail, or you can turn left and go have some fun. And I did that. I decided, I came all the way. I just don't really want a ho-hum hike. I hiked up here. It was very beautiful, very scenic on the way up. But it's been quite a while since I've really done something fun off trail. So I dropped my pack, put the fleece in it, put my light shell on, and set out towards kind of what the short continuation of the rail trail. I don't know if you've been out this way, Stosh, or not, but the rail trail actually does continue, at least the old rail bed does continue a little bit to the west. And so my plan was to traverse as far as I could going west and then kind of bang a right and take a bearing of about 320 down to the the bridge more or less, or just a little bit uphill with the bridge. And I have to say that I wasn't but maybe 20, 25 feet into that little bushwhack. And I was regretting it all day. Because it was fairly unpredictable when you would punch through and when you wouldn't. When you could really make up good time by hiking fast, or if you were going too fast, you would just push right through the snow. So you really had to focus on not going faster than the snow could support you, or that you could gauge how much support it would give you. Because when you did go through, you would go through, man. I would put a leg all the way down and you would be right up to your crotch or further because of how deep the snow was. And then the second realization I had was the snow was so deep that going uphill was going to be a game changer. So when you turn downhill, or even side hilling over, if you put yourself in a bad position, either on top of a ledge or into some thick spruce or balsam trees, backing out and going uphill, if you had to repeatedly do that on your way down, it was just going to be so tiring that I'd be concerned about hiking up Westkill because I'd just be tired by the time I got to the bottom. So I really started to take stock of picking the right route going over, but invariably you are going to get to a series of ledges and big boulders. Have you been through there, Stosh?
Talking about the western side of Southwest Hunter?
Yes.
I have been partially. So I went up like halfway and then I headed north going over towards the old Benwick Lumber Company. Okay. I haven't gone all the way up to south to top of house. And
did you make the turn because of the forest or something else?
The scree was pretty crazy. This was in the summer.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, it's one of the gnarliest slopes in the Catskills to bushwhack.
It's freaking, it's
yeah. So this was my 9th time up or down that slope. And it's got some epic sections. And so I got into the cliffy part. And I have to say, as you're hiking along and you're looking ahead, you can tell when you're approaching a cliffy section, when you're going downhill, because all of a sudden the trees ahead of you get shorter and thinner. And that's because they're like 10 or 20 feet further down because of the ledge ahead of you. And the problem is that the smaller ledges, like the 6-footers, the 8-footers, literally the snow is packed right in up against them. So if you really weren't paying attention, and it happened to me twice, where you step off of these things and you're just sinking instantly. Mm-hmm. So one time I was up to my shoulders in snow, both legs down, up to my shoulders. But that really isn't that bad to have that happen, because when you get further down, there's like a bunch of these little small spruce groves where you have legit spruce traps in the Catskills. And I sent you that one photo of the one I went through, because amongst other things you need to worry about as you go through these little spruce trap groves. And yeah, they can be difficult to get out of when you get into them. But fortunately, when I went through them, I was able to just place my feet well enough to stay on top, or just sink a moderate amount into the snow going through there. But it was certainly challenging to grade how challenging it was. I don't know. I had a good time going through there. In comparison, a few weeks ago, when I went down Sugarloaf on trail and relatively deep snow, not as deep as this past weekend, but relatively deep snow, I made it down Sugarloaf, which is longer and more vertical drop, in about 35 minutes. And going down Southwest Hunter on Saturday took me how long? Take a guess. Shawn, how about you?
Double that.
Double? An hour? What do you think, Shawn or Stosh?
27 minutes.
27? Took me an hour and a half.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it was. I'll tell you this, man. It was. I really had to be on top of my game, because, like I said, there was times that if you weren't paying attention, you would just sink over your head in the snow.
Wow.
There's just all sorts of obstacles. The one thing that I am concerned the most of when you go through an area like that is when you have a fallen hemlock tree. Because, when they fall and over time the branches break off and they become like daggers sticking up.
Oh, yeah.
You can't see them when the snow's that deep. And so you're hiking through there. And it's happened to me before where I've been going downhill, really moving along. And then you catch your snowshoe on one of those and you get knocked over. And one time it really ripped up my jacket, but not me, when I hit one on North Dome. But so, yeah, I had a great time going down. Eventually, it seemed like forever, but eventually I get to the trail. I stopped, grabbed a Cliff Bar. I had some hot green tea with me. And then I set out going up Westkill. The trail by then had turned into mashed potatoes. Fairly well packed down, but it was just the type of mashed potatoes that will clump onto your snowshoes. Got up to Westkill. The view was nice, unlike the Geiger Point, which was all like, just caked in the clouds in the morning. Buck Ridge was nice. And then I turned around, came down. On my way down, I ran into a younger fellow. I don't know, he could have been in his 20s or 30s. And he tells me that, and he looked as fresh can be. Okay. He looked like he just stepped out of his car. He told me that day he did Rusk, East Rusk, Hunter, Southwest Hunter, and now was doing Westkill.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just motoring along. And then further down, I ran into another guy hiking who was bare booting. And I don't even think he had anything other than a Poland Spring water bottle. And he was going uphill, huffing and puffing though.
Nice.
So I made my way, back down, cross the bridge, eventually take my snowshoes off, walk out to the car, and drive down the road. And where did I stop on my way back?
Stewart's.
No.
Oh.
How about you, Shawn? Where did I stop on my way back?
Yeah, Stewart's, man.
No. I stopped at Local Goods.
I
stopped at Local Goods, and because it was warm enough. It was warm enough on that hike that after the hike, I just had this craving for a beer.
Nice.
So I stopped at Local Goods, and I picked up from Return Brewing. They call it the Bounce Flash Hazy IPA.
Yeah, sorry, I skipped over what we're drinking. Sorry.
Yeah. So you're not giving Shawn the full treatment. So at any rate, this Bounce Flash Hazy IPA, AI says it's a drinkable brew with prominent notes of pineapple, melon, stone fruit, which I don't know what that is, and a balanced finish. I just thought it tasted good and hit the spot.
Why are you saying AI did that? You're reading
Well, yeah,
the
I
label,
Googled it.
right?
I Googled it. Isn't it interesting to see what other people think about a beer and then see if you taste the same
and then see what a computer thinks about it?
Yeah. I mean, the future is you need to identify with AI going forward, right?
You need to be
if you
nice
don't think
with
like
AI.
AI going forward, you're going to be left behind. Okay.
Right.
And
You need
remember that. Shawn, you remember that. That's how you're going to get ahead in life, is thinking like AI thinks. So
it's true. We got to go with it. Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of what you're drinking.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So by the way, I give that hike, I don't know, maybe an 11. It was really good hike.
Wow.
So yeah. Best hike of the season so far. So tonight I am drinking hot green tea.
Oh,
it's the first Tuesday of the month.
That's what it is. Correct. So, Shawn, what about you? What are you having?
I was gonna get something so I could pop the tab, but I just like my rum and Coke.
Nice. Sweet. That's my pre-chat stuff. So
yeah, it was Sailor Jerry.
Oh, nice. Sailor Jerry has some good stuff. That's a little bit better alternative than the cheap stuff and then the expensive stuff. So I like Sailor Jerry. Good stuff. I am having a Hudson North Big Blackberry. Actually, I just finished it, so I got to refuel. But speaking about like what previous hikes, I didn't do a hike this week. I was working. I went with my men's social group. So once again, I work for the Arc of Otsego, and we bring a bunch of individuals around to do things that they wouldn't be able to do on their own and stuff. We had a bunch of people with us, and we went to good old Catskill Mountain and did their snow tubing there.
Oh.
Fantastic time. Place was bumping like crazy. Like it was there wasn't long lift lines or with the tube line or stuff like that, the tubing lines, but there was a lot of people there. It was bumping. The food was fantastic. Just the vibe was great. I love that the cabin, the lodge is so nice. And when we went down the lines, we just had the kind of like thaw on that Saturday where it was like 45 degrees. So me, Jessica, and the guys were the first ones down on this, and they only had like the rubber mats at the end. So like to slow you down, we went down and we just freaking zipped like crazy. And we were just like, I don't even know how fast we were going. We were flying. I took a video. I should probably post it, but that was with the mats. And they like, after we did like 3 or 4 runs by ourselves, they're like, well, yeah, we got to put more mats down. This is like pure ice. And before they did that, Jessica and the 2 other guys went down together, like as a trio, and they flew. And there's this one little like hump that you go over. With them, it wasn't a hump. It was a jump. They like airlifted.
Bunny hop.
Yeah, they seriously got airlifted, and you go up this little slope up the top to slow you down, and you come back down and you slow down. They went all the way up to the top and almost went over the top of it. So they're like, yeah, we got to rechange everything about this, because if more people come, it's going to get, and plus the sun was setting. It was like 1 o'clock. So the sun was setting. So it's getting colder. So it's getting more icier. And we're just like, oh, this is great. It was fantastic. We had a blast. Loved.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What do they charge?
It was $45 for 2 hours of tubing.
Okay.
So if you go to Wyndham, it's 1 hour at $40. If you go to Hunter, it's 1 hour at $40 as well.
Okay. So you get 2 hours for $45, and at the end of 2 hours, do you get enough tubing in to fill you up, or you still want more?
I was pretty good. I mean, being an old bugger, I was pretty good. They have a little like lift that brings you up, like a little, like, what do you call it? Like a ramp or something that just drags you up to the top. So that's good. It was pretty nice. We had one instance of where a little girl got like caught, because you gotta, of course, like it doesn't like, it's like it just, you got to jump off at the last second. She didn't jump off, and she got like her leg caught. She was caught in there, so it stopped the whole thing. And like,
was there any blood? Was there
not
any
at all?
Bloodshed?
No.
Okay.
No bloodshed.
Yeah.
But
she got a lawsuit out of it, so now her college is paid for.
We did get to chat. My good friend Alex, Vertical Madness, that's his trail name, did get to chat with the local ski patrol people. It was pretty cool to chat with them. And apparently they had a lot of, because of the slopes were icy. After we left, we saw 3 ambulances come up. And I heard about like that there was like an accident that had like 2 or 3 people slammed into each other. And it was pretty crazy. So, but once again, Plattekill, place to go, bumping. Everybody was good spirits. The lodge is fantastic. They had great food. I had a chicken Caesar wrap that filled me up, went out tubing. People were great, and just fun. The personnel was fun and stuff, and had a great, fantastic time. Love it. Get there before it all ends, I tell you. So,
yeah. So before we move on, I think we need to remind everyone that what is Sunday morning, March 8th?
Oh, daylight saving times.
Yeah. So when you wake up Sunday morning, it's going to be an hour ahead.
Oh,
yeah. So you lose an hour of sleep.
Oh man!
Saturday night, Sunday morning. So remember that if you're meeting your hiking buddies on Sunday, you could be an hour late and have to get a helicopter rescue because you went out alone without your group. So
True.
Just letting you know that.
Good point. Very good point. So that could be the part of the news. Like, so once again, it's daylight saving times on Sunday. So volunteer also anywhere you can volunteer. New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, 3500 Club, Catskill Trail Crew, Catskill Mountains Club, Visitor Center, Jolly Rovers Trail Crew, and Bramley Mountain Fire Tower is looking for volunteers as well. Also, Catskill Mountain Search and Rescue Team is looking for volunteers. So email me, send a message to me. I'll get you hooked up, or check out join at catskillsar.org. I will have that information. If you want, let me know. I will bring it to you. Also, if you want stickers, free stickers, I have them right here. Shawn, send me your address. I will send you some free stickers. All right, so let's get into the weather forecast. Here is your weekend weather forecast, sponsored by mountainforecast.com. We'll prepare you for the worst so you don't need a rescue. A clipper system is coming in Thursday night, so expect some moderate snow Thursday night, up to 4 inches. On Friday, March 6th, expect light rain in the morning to cloudy skies in the afternoon, a high of 45 in the afternoon and a low of 36, with wind chills reaching down to 27 degrees. On Saturday, March 6th, expect some clouds in the morning with light rain showers in the afternoon, a high of 54 degrees, a low of 43, and a wind chill reaching down to 30 degrees at night. On Sunday, March 8th, expect cloudy skies in the morning with light rain in the afternoon, a high of 43, a low of 39, and wind chills reaching down to 28 degrees. It's going to be a weird weekend of weather, so once again, be safe, be prepared, and don't become tomorrow's rescue story. Back to you, fellas. Let's get on the last set of sponsors, and then we'll get on to Shawn and his awesome Appalachian Trail through hike. So, discover Camp Catskill in Tannersville, your ultimate hiking store. Find top quality gear, apparel, and accessories for all your outdoor adventures. Our expert staff is to help every hiker from beginners to seasoned pros. We also carry a variety of unique Catskill souvenirs and gifts. Visit us online at campcatskill.co or in the store to gear up for your next journey. Adventure starts at Camp Catskill. Also, if you need stickers, go there. Free stickers. Embark on a transformative journey with Another Summit. Another Summit is dedicated to serving veterans and first responders with free outdoor activities. Activities like walks in nature, paddling, hiking, and even backpacking. Join our supportive community to rejuvenate in nature's embrace. Experience camaraderie, adventure, and healing at no cost. Take your next step with Another Summit and ascend to new heights of resilience and joy. Apply today at anothersummit.org. All right, so let's get on to the guest of the night.
Let's go.
So Shawn Connolly is joining us tonight. He is coming off from his pause of being mute for the whole Appalachian Trail and going to be telling us.
Broke the vow of silence.
Yes, the vow of silence through the Appalachian Trail. But we also have, apparently he has a trail name, which I didn't know until this time. And he is joining us back. And he's going to be chatting about his experience through the Appalachian Trail, Appalachian, whatever you call it. Shawn, what do you call it? You've done it. What do you call it?
Appalachian, the AT. There we go.
Okay. That's good. Okay. So the AT. So he's going to chat about his experience through the AT. He tagged us in as many posts as he could, and we shared through those. So hopefully a lot of people who listen to the show followed him and followed his journey till he hiked from Georgia all the way up to Maine. So Shawn, welcome to the show. Thanks for shooting the shit with us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Your trail name was PMA, Positive Mental Attitude. Now, how did that come about with the other trail? Like, how do you guys introduce yourselves with do you say hi, I'm Shawn, or do you say hi, I'm PMA, Positive Mental Attitude?
Yeah, so so I flew down to Georgia like the 31st of March, and then the next day I was stepping on trail. And so I came in contact with a few people. I had the background of the idea that my name was going to be PMA. But, I was a little shy at first. So I introduced myself as Shawn for maybe the first 4 or 5 hikers for the first day or two. But after 48 hours, 72 hours on trail, I was like, my name is PMA. A lot of people were throwing around names pretty early. So, yeah, there was only a handful of people that introduced myself as Shawn. And then it just became routine PMA. I mean, my trail members, we all had trail names, and it was kind of funny learning our real names at the time. We would go into town, get a bill at the restaurant, and we have to write our names. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, PMA all day, man.
Nice. I mean, a positive. How could you, like, what more could you want? Positive mental attitude. That's awesome trail name to have on the trail, especially if there's people that are struggling. You have that name to be like to boost them somewhat. So that's it. So now, how about? I mean, we went over your trail name really quick. What about background of yourself? Maybe your lifestyle, like not lifestyle, but where you live. How'd you get started into hiking, stuff like that?
Yeah, man. So, born and raised on Long Island. I was gracious to have the opportunity. My parents, they're both from the city, but they actually met in their late 20s in New Paltz, actually at now it's called High Peters Kills Falls. They met back in the day at a waterfall and whatnot. So that was like the base of my parents meeting, and it just grew into, I was their first kid. Vacation involved camping in the Catskills, Adirondacks. Really had a solid, nice summer home every year in the Adirondacks when I was, like up to 10 years old or whatnot. So I had a good foundation of just like, vacation is camping. It's not going to the big city. So yeah, and then, becoming a teenager here on the islands. I am in like the woodsy part of the island. I'm like eastern, before the Forks, but like after Nassau, eastern Long Island. So I actually have woods. I'm actually, my father's backyard is the Pine Barrens. So,
Nice.
As a teenager, I'm always in the woods. Fast forward, I'm in my 20s. At 25 years old, I had lost my mom to breast cancer. So I adopted my dog at that time, and me and my dog were inseparable. I'm always taking the dog out for hikes. So I'm still in the woods in my 20s. But it wasn't until I was like 5-6 years into having my dog, I was like 30. He got an injury towards ACL. So the long hikes with him were few and far between. And that's when I started really exploring hikes by myself and really recording my miles. This was 2019. So this is when I first started doing my Catskill 35s. This is when I first did my first backpacking trip of like a week here on the island. There's a trail called the Panama Path, which takes you all the way to Montauk Point. It's about 130 miles.
Wow.
And then, for the next 5 or 6 years, I had a good job. I would get vacation time. So I would take that 3 weeks vacation each time, one in the winter, spring, and fall. And I would go around the East Coast and do these 4 to 7 day backpacking trips, which accumulated 10, 15 trips over 5-6 years. I do sections of the AT. I did the Smokies. I did trails up here, like the New England Trail. It goes through Connecticut, Massachusetts. There's a trail called the North-South Trail, which does the whole thing of Rhode Island. Every winter, I would do a section of the Florida Trail. I got my Catskill 35er, and then eventually I got the winter. And
Nice.
then, and then that brings me up to present day, which was, that summer of 24 where my dog passed away, followed by the fall of 24 where my cat passed away. All of a sudden, 2 weeks later, it's like Thanksgiving, and I just had like a mental breakdown at work, and I got myself in a situation where, I had to leave that job. And considering that the AT starts in April, it was a little too soon, but, my mental got the best of me. So that point, I had like 20 something peaks under my belt for the winter Catskill. So I finished that up that winter. And then by March of 25, I had finished that. And then in April of 25, I was going down to Georgia to do this AT thing that I've had on my mind ever since I really locked down with hiking in 2019, like 5-6 years prior, which was possible now because, I had no commitments. I was able to leave my pets a week at a time. I I had my brother and my father as like, the cat sitter, dog sitter, or whatnot. But at this point, they were both gone. So I think it was kind of crazy because the dog, I mean, they both were 13. We'd be lying to ourselves. I mean, if you luck out, you get 16 years, but 13, it's pretty good. So the dog, I saw it coming. He was an old man. He had one rough week at the end where he couldn't walk. He couldn't control his, bowels and whatnot, and I had to put him down. And then the cat was the same age, but it's kind of wild because the cat had no pre-existing stuff. I remember I did an overnight trip to Nyack and did some day hikes. And then I came back after the weekend and I found him gone. But like I said, it was only like 5 months after the dog. So it was like, in a way, the cat was saying like, let me go now. Let me not prolong this so you could live, Shawn, I mean, I don't know, but I try to like look at it in a way to be positive. But so that's where, the outdoors has always been a thing for me. Luckily my parents were ex-hippies back in 1980, meeting at that waterfall and whatnot, and New Paltz. But it just, outdoors has been always my thing.
Wow. Shawn is a winter 35er before I am.
Yeah, well, it's an elite club. So, Shawn, you have this really dramatic change of life events in 2024. You now find yourself without these obligations. When is it after Thanksgiving in 2024 do you say to yourself, I'm going to do the AT next year?
Pretty much, pretty much the ball started rolling in my head in the summer when the dog passed. But I would never leave just the cat. But then the fact that like, when the cat happened, like it wasn't the first thing I was thinking of. Obviously, I'm mourning my two best friends, but I don't know. It was just always in the back of my mind for years when I found out about the AT. And then, the more that I thought about it, I was like, what better time, and then, I was 39 years old. I'm not saying that's old, but, a lot of people were in their 20s, a lot of people right after high school, right after college. So like for somebody in their 30s or 40s, it's usually something like a transition period. And for me, it wasn't early retirement or like, having kids graduate high school. It was these pets that I had for over a decade. So when I stopped working at Thanksgiving, I knew I wasn't going to hike the AT in the winter. Usually you start March, April. I figured, let me start April 1st. I had all those peaks bagged with the Catskills, and I knew I wanted to finish the winter. So I was like, I'm going to, snowshoe all winter until I hit the AT. And that's what I did.
Impressive.
So you've had it in the back of your mind for a long, long time to do the AT. You have this change of events in your life in 2024. And then there comes some point in time that you're committed to, I'm going to do the AT in 2025. When you made up your mind that you were going to do it, how long did it take you to put together what you needed, and how hard was it to just pull the strings together, fly down to Georgia and show up on April 1st to start the hike?
Yeah, the progression was nice and smooth actually, because like I said, the last 5 or 6 years, I had been taking these backpacking trips. I would fly down to the Carolinas. I would fly down to Georgia. I would take a train up to Massachusetts or Connecticut, and I'd do these week-long trips. So, I had the backpack. I had the tent. I had the sleeping bag and whatnot. So I had everything dialed down pretty good over 5+ years of using this equipment. So I was pretty much set with the gear. It just all took, the little courage to make that, the plane ticket, and that was it.
Wow.
We have here in our list of questions, what did you think your AT experience was going to be like before you actually showed up and started the hike? And how right or how wrong were you about your expectations?
Right. Yeah, I was, I think based on like my research, my studying, doing my homework, and then actually doing, these backpacking trips, I really prepare myself pretty well. I went down the rabbit hole of like watching YouTubers through, YouTube, the through hike and whatnot. So I was pretty prepared. And when I got down there, I pretty much set myself up to, succeed at this. Like the main thing you got to be able to mentally get is being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and being minimalistic of living out of a backpack. And what helped me the most was just doing those little tiny trips year after year.
Yeah.
So.
Now, I mean, it's a whole different story compared to most of the AT hikers. They just like, once again, you said they were young. They just hop on that train and then just get on the AT with like 80 pounds of their stuff. But you are experienced and stuff. You hop on. Did you start flying right away and like start surpassing other people? Just like, shit, I got this. This is easy. Like, this is nothing. Or was it kind of like a little rough, like ride in the beginning, or, It
wasn't too bad. I think I definitely, like, compared to, learning like what my family members did starting off, I think I exceeded a little bit. Like I only did like a single mile day. Like one day, the first day I did like 8 miles, but like the second day I jumped up to like 17 and did like another 17. But like literally I hiked every day off on the last 5 days. I had a day off, I'd hike. I'd go on vacation, I would hike for that week. When I was doing the Catskills, like I worked the evening shift. So I worked till 11, punch out, drive 2-3 hours up to the Catskills, show up at like midnight or 1 a.m., find a spot to sleep at a, rest stop or whatnot, get up in the morning, do my hike. If I was just off that one day, I'd just hike and come back home. If it was a weekend, I'd hotel it the Saturday night and then keep on hiking. I literally hiked every day for like five years. So I didn't have trail legs, but like the AT is like 2,200 miles. Before I started the AT, I had 3,000 miles of day hikes / little backpacking trips that I did over the 5 years. So I set myself up so I didn't like get shin splints or, blisters. I knew what shoes and socks combo, like I didn't have to deal with blisters. So I was pretty good in that way.
So you're ready for it. And then the dealing for the beginning of the hike is like you've done the Catskills and stuff. So you some rugged terrain and stuff like that. And so you basically were ready for this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're used to hiking the East Coast, you're used to that up and down right away. Like some of my trailing members were from out West, so they weren't used to that quick change in elevation. So, but I was born and bred here, so this is not too bad for me. Not saying it was fucking easy. I mean, it was the hardest thing in my life. Out of being preparedness, I think I did my homework,
So, but let's talk about, Shawn, what you weren't prepared for. I mean, you had done all this hiking, you did a lot of backpacking, but shorter excursions. Now you're setting out to do the 2,200 miles. You're on trail for 5 months. What was it that you feel that you were not prepared for, and that you'd want to give a heads up to somebody who does a lot of hiking, does a lot of backpacking, and thinks they're ready for the AT? What would you tell them that they're not necessarily ready for, but should be prepared for, having listened to the podcast?
Right. So something that happened to me that I guess it wasn't completely shocked that it happened, but I wasn't anticipating happen. But I had to go to urgent care 5 different times throughout my hike for just general skin issues. Whether it be conjunctivitis in my eyes or bad pack rash from all the sweat in your backpack on my back. I'm staying up all night scratching my friggin' skin till it bleeds, until it gets infected. And I ended up having to go to urgent care and getting PO antibiotics and prednisone on 5 different times. Actually, the 5th time I had to get a IM injection of a prednisone shot because I was just so bad. My eyes were swollen shut. I had rashes and open sores all over my body. But there's really, it's hard because, what's going to fix that? You got to try to keep yourself clean. You could give yourself a creek bath, which I did. You could stop at town and stay at a hostel or hotel, grab a shower, which I did. But still, it's not like it's your normal day where every day you're showering and you're rejuvenating your skin. It's at best I was doing 3 to 4 days hitting a shower and whatnot. So it's hard to give advice on how to fix that. And the summer was really dry. This was the driest summer. Like most people think about the AT, think you're walking in rain and everything. This was the complete opposite. It was so dry. So my skin was so much worse. But that's really the only thing that I wasn't really anticipating. The one other thing I could put on is, like when I said I had my gear dialed down. My gear was dialed down, but it was 5 years old. And it worked good for each week trip. Once a year, I take a week. The sleeping bag worked fine. The tent worked fine. But now I'm using this stuff every day for more than just 1 week. So eventually, all those big 3 items, like the backpack, the sleeping bag, the sleeping pad, the tent, they were all good, but I had them for 5 years. So in the middle of the trail, they started to deteriorate. The sleeping bag got more mold in it. The tent got some holes in it. So I ended up having to replace on trail all those big items when I should have just knew that they were probably going to fail mid-hike because they were already old. And I should have just, got new stuff in the beginning, so I didn't have to deal with post offices and drop-offs and whatnot. But, that's kind of minor.
That's not bad. You were kind of like the old timer on the trail.
It was a lot of mix. I ended up hiking with 7 different people, and we had every age from 18. We had 20s, 30s, 40s, and up to 60-something years old. It was pretty cool.
Was this at the beginning? Like, how did you find where and how did you find trail fam?
Yeah, so the hike took 5 months. So the first, and I didn't start linking up with these guys and girls until like a month and a half. I started camping with them every night, and I started hiking with them every night. But that first month, I'd see them. We'd be flip-flopping with each other, maybe spending the night with each other, but not really getting too close and personal with each other. But it wasn't until, maybe day 45 and then on till day 157 that we pretty much dedicated, like, okay, we'll let you know we're camping here, we're hiking here. So that's when we really became like a family, those 100 and so days after. But
wow, impressive. So this was like 7 people, and so amazing. So then you sticked with these guys, this family, for how long? You said a couple 100 days.
Yeah. So I think like the first 500 miles, I was pretty much by myself, kind of hitting them every once in a while. You know, I knew the faces, I knew the names, but not necessarily tied to one another. And then after that, it was more of an effort to stay together. Yeah, we did, you know, part ways sometimes. You know, if someone didn't make the miles or whatnot, maybe we'd see them in like 3 or 4 days, but eventually we would always come back with one another, and we ended up summiting Katahdin together. So
Nice. That's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah.
So 1,500 miles, basically, you guys were with each other.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So now when you're starting off this hike and, you know, of course, 2,000 miles, do you remember like losing like a sense of time, of just feeling like screw time? I'm going to follow where the sun rises and the sun sets. That's basically what I'm doing. Or did you, because you had your phone on you and stuff, you knew what time was? Did you ever get a chance, like a time or time on the trail where you lost time, where you didn't feel like time mattered?
Yeah, I mean, at times the days seemed quick and then they seemed long. And then if you paired them together with days, a week would feel like a year, or a week would feel like a day. It was crazy like that, but you were definitely mindful of sunrise and sunset. You know, you were just so mindful of, you know, when nature is waking up, when the birds are chirping and you're in your sleeping bag. All right, time to deflate the sleeping pad and get packed up. And then, you know, when the sun's setting, that, you know, those pinks, those purples and whatnot. And then, you know, when you get to town and you're like, oh, okay, it's Wednesday, you know, like.
True.
Pretty crazy.
Now, like along that sense of like you losing your sense of time with the weeks, and you said that, you know, like a week would feel like a year, and then like a week would feel like a day. Was that due to kind of like the weather and stuff like that? Would you say like, you know, shitty weather would make it feel like a year, and then nice weather, you'd be flying along the trail doing 20-mile days and stuff? Was that due to that, or just certain instances?
Yeah, I don't know. The weather really didn't play a role in that, because only when like the spring was over and the summer came, like you really felt the dryness, the lack of water and everything. I really didn't get the typical torrential downpour storms. I could count on one hand, you know, the amount of times where I was hiking and, you know, just got completely drenched. It was just, you know, you're in the woods and you hike across a couple of roads and a couple of intersections, and sometimes the days feel long, sometimes they feel short. It depends on what you're looking forward to on the next section, you know. True. Sometimes things would speed up if I know I'm going to like a national park, or, you know, some kind of cool thing, or, you know, a town day. Maybe it would speed up. You know, always when you're going downhill into a town, like sometimes that feels slow and quick at the same time, because you're going from like 4,000 feet to 1,000 feet real quick into the town. So it feels that mix of like it's quick, but it's slow. Yeah.
So Shawn, just going back to weather, how often would you check what the weather was going to be like for tomorrow or for the week ahead? Was that something that you would check day in and day out, weather forecasts? So whether you would do that every day?
Probably not every day. Well, maybe every day, but not at specific same times. Mm-hmm. Generally, you had service at least once a day. I mean, there were some sections where you didn't have service for a day or two, but yeah, I would make it a point that like, I know I'm going to get service when I'm on top of the peak. I know I'm not going to have service when I'm down in the valley. So I would make a point to check the weather when I knew I had service and I was going to get that availability. And again, you know, you're going to hit towns once a week. So of course, in those sections, I'm going to check the weather and everything. Yeah.
I just wonder what it must have been like for folks, you know, 25, 50 years ago when they didn't have right? Checking the weather forecast for the week ahead was kind of a big effort. Yeah. And so now.
I met a guy that was in his 70s. He was doing this for the second time. So I guess he did the trail like 25 years ago. And, you know, let alone the apps with the weather. It's the community, the hostels, the trail magic. I mean, there was a lot less back then. Like it was,
Yeah.
So what's your sense of how the experience has changed from the people that you met and what you experienced? Is the AT still what it always was? Is it something better now, or not as great, or epic as it once was? Where do you think it fits into that spectrum at the present time?
Yeah, I think it's just as epic as it ever was. It's definitely a little bit more convenient because you got that app far out and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But the trail community is just incredible. Like you get to a road crossing and there's a mini school bus set up in the trailhead parking lot with a bunch of women in their 60s barbecuing some hot dogs or breakfast sandwiches, and they have some Gatorade or some brew in the coolers and whatnot. And that was throughout the whole trail. And you get to a town, and these little towns, they anticipate when when people start walking the trail, because people are becoming these small towns. So these little breweries, these little hostels, and there's so much giving back. Like you go into these towns, and the church will set up a hiker feed, a free pancake breakfast, and you get a shuttle. You'll hop in the church van. They take it to the church, and you feed your pancakes. That was all still a thing, and I'm sure it was a thing back in the day, and it's still a thing, which is
wow.
It's awesome.
Do you have to confess your sins while you're on the bus? Is that part of it?
No, it's so non-judgmental, man. It's amazing, because like I am not religious whatsoever, but like they, who cares? They're not going to ask you that. Like, you're a hiker,
Yeah. So on a more serious tone, how much did all of that trail magic and the provisions that others were providing, local people, churches, whatnot, how much did that lessen the load, if you will, in terms of food that you had to carry? Was there so much trail magic and food being provided that you were just like, okay, I'm gonna bring half as much food with me day to day as I normally would take on a hike, but I know when I get to a road crossing, chances are I can have a beer and a burger.
Right. I mean, I guess you could take that into consideration, but when you're doing it, it's all still new, so you can't bank on that, but you probably could. I never did. It's always to be safe than sorry, but you could supplement yourself. You could, if you're just weaning by 3,000 calories, but you get trail magic, you could add another 3,000 calories. That's just supplemental. And then, there was some of my trail members, like up in Maine, he didn't resupply correctly, but we had a trail angel, and he actually resupplied at Trail Magic for the remainder of whatever, days there was. But yeah, I mean, it's so much. It reminded me of Halloween for adults, like trick-or-treating for adults.
Wow.
It's just,
so did you weigh more or less at the end of this than when you started?
Yeah, so I'm not a big framed guy. So my frame is more like a woman. So you want to break even, kind of like if you're a woman. So I broke even. I didn't gain weight. I didn't lose weight, which is great. I was maybe up 2-3 pounds water weight or whatnot. So it's great. With somebody how light I am, I would be in the ER if I lost as much weight as the typical guy that weighs 175 who lost 45 pounds. Wow. So I pretty much was even. I was pretty good.
Nice. I mean, that's the preparedness to going into doing this instead of just jumping on it and stuff like that. So Shawn, me and my wife like to go down to the Shenandoahs every other year and do trail magic. And recently, this was 2 years ago or a year ago that we did this. It was the massive heat wave that we had. It was like 95 to 105 degrees day and night. And Jessica and I went out in the Appalachian Trail through the Shenandoahs and hiked and did trail magic with both our backpacks full of Gatorade and soda and beer. And I got to tell you, we've been doing this for over 5 years now, and I just the faces on the hikers when we come up and they're like sweating crazy, and we're like, "Hey, you want a cold Gatorade?" And they're just like, "Excuse me?" Like, "Yeah, what do you want? Gatorade, beer, soda? We got snacks." And they're just like, "You fucking serious? Like, is this like, yeah, we're serious." And I throw out the backpack, and I just love trail magic. I think it's so cool. Yeah, it's so easy. It's easier through the Shenandoahs because you have easier places to park and stuff. But at this time, doing that, like I don't know how it came out in that time of year of just how crazy hot it was. It was just one of those moments of where, like, there was so much joy in somebody getting a cold Gatorade when they're 16 miles into their hike and such. Even that or a soda. Like it was funny how people wanted more sodas than they wanted more Gatorades. It was fun.
Yeah, it's the sugar, I guess. I don't know, but that was great. So you were actually like on trail, given the trail magic, like mid hike.
Oh yeah. We didn't sit at the trailheads. We actually went and did the hikes.
That's rare. I've had that happen a handful of times of actually in the woods trail magic. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was fantastic. We do this every other year. We park at spots. We hike up to different spots. We find out where the bubble is, basically. Right. And then we go up to like Compton Peak and like different parts of like Mary's Rock, the more popular areas. We kind of just find out where the bubble is, and we do that. And one of my favorite spots, of course, the Shenandoahs are absolutely amazing. One of my favorite spots is the Bear Fence Mountain, where you do some like good scrambling.
Okay.
It was fantastic spot. And then I'm trying to think of the other spot that like opens out. It's one of my favorite spots that just has like, it's just all full of like shale rock. It's beautiful. Black something. Absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, we love doing that, and I suggest anybody and everybody that can do trail magic while on the Appalachian Trail, find out where the bubble is, find out where some people are, and definitely do it because, somebody like Shawn's that's doing this for 1,500 miles, see somebody pop in with a cold Gatorade or a cold soda, might enjoy it.
It was crazy. Can I share a story with one of our followers, Rachel Gypsy, actually trail to me in New York around Bear Mountain. So nice. She knew she was following me. Yeah, you guys' podcast was great because people started following me that I didn't know. So it was cool. So she was one of them, and she's actually from Long Island. So ahead of time, she's like, "Let me know when you get into Bear Mountain area." And so I knew I was going to get there by the end of the week or whatever. So I was letting her know that. And actually, the particular day that she showed up, the day before, I camped in Harriam State Park. I kind of stealth camped right by a pond, and there was really tall grass, and it was the summer. And I didn't think anything of it, but I woke up with this huge red blotch on my knee that was swollen. I was feverish. I wasn't feeling good. So, and then the following day, I had planned to meet her near Bear Mountain, right before Bear Mountain. I was taking a side trail off the AT, and I was staying at West Mountain, where you have the view of the skyline over the Hudson River.
Nice.
So I fucking made it there, and it was still daylight, found a spot on top of the peak, and it took me forever to set up my tent. I got a little simple tent, takes me 5 minutes. I was so bad that I had to keep on taking breaks. It took me a half hour, kept on laying down. I felt like shit. I knew she was coming. service was spotty, so I didn't know exactly. And then I see her and her husband pop up, and I'm like, "Is that you?" And as shitty as I was feeling, like, they brought me up, man. They carried water, Gatorade, snacks. They fucking even brought Bud up, and the conversating, just the talking. And like I told them, I'm like, I think I got bit by a spider. I pulled up my pant leg. It was huge and red. And they're like, oh my God. And I'm just like, no worries. This is like what I needed instead of just being by myself. Because at that point, like, I kind of was slowing my roll a little bit, because I knew actually the day after I was meeting up with my father, because he was in town. So I had left the tramley. So I was by myself dealing with this fucking spider bite. But yeah, that trail magic, it was just amazing how things happen at the certain time, because that little pick me up, and then following the next morning, I was able to meet my father, and then able to get a ride to urgent care easily without Ubering or shuttling. I just had my father in his truck. So it's just amazing how things line up. And that just seemed to happen every time I had a little crisis, like whether it be my uncle seeing me or person I was dating at the time, or just whatever. Like, it just, the trail provides in a way that you couldn't even ask for.
Wow. That's thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Josh. Rachel and Josh. That's fantastic. Once again, the community.
Right. And thanks to the podcast, because if the podcast wasn't a thing, I'd never met her in real life. It's just, I listen to you guys, she listens to you. I tag it, you mention it and whatnot. And then here we are.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's all full circle. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
that's what it's about.
That's what I do it.
Yeah. So, Shawn, tell us, does there come some point along the way that you just really feel like this is everything you dreamt it was going to be, that this is just like some epic adventure and you're really enjoying yourself? Although you say you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, are you just like, totally in the zone and loving it day to day?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty much, yeah. I mean, I did have my times where, my name is PMA, positive mental attitude. And then my Tranley guys would be like, where's the PMA? You sounded negative right now. Mm-hmm. But all in all, I mean, pretty much like there was never a moment where I, thought I was going to quit. The worst day on trail is better than, slinging meds to my patients on my day to day. So yeah, I was just grateful to be out there. And yeah, it was definitely still hard. It was, one of the hardest things I did, but I knew what I was getting myself into, and nothing was that bad that it took away from, the high that I was having the whole time.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like PMA, positive mental attitude.
Yeah. It reminds me of this quote from my bike racing days, where we talk about pain being temporary, but quitting is forever. And so you would just learn to ride through the pain, because if you dropped out of the race, man, you'd regret it for, till the next time you loaded on the bike and did it again. But yeah, glad to hear you had a good time.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you learned about the gear. I mean, it sounds like you had your gear game down pretty well, but your gear didn't have a lot of useful life in it, either yourself or what you saw with others. What is like the most unnecessary stuff that either you brought or you see that other people bring with them for a through hike like this?
Yeah, I was trying to think about this. I don't know. I mean, everything I ended up bringing, I used. There wasn't anything that I didn't bring that I didn't use.
Oh.
I brought some warmer clothes from the beginning, but once I got out of the Smokies, I mailed them back. The most unnecessary.
Well, it sounds like you were down to the bare minimum then that you.
Yeah, I mean, I had to really think about it because, you don't want to carry more than 25% of your body weight. And if I'm 125 pounds, like that's not as much weight that I could carry as opposed to a guy that's $180.
Mm-hmm.
So I was already mindful of that. So like the closest thing about like ditching gear, it's not gear, it was food. I had to really learn how much food I should carry. Because in the beginning, I was buying so much food, it couldn't even fit in my fucking food bag. So I just, and then the hiker hunger didn't even kick in at that point. So that was kind of pointless. So I had to, you had to adjust. You have a learning curve there, which it's a hard one that we will have to deal with. But eventually we got there. Eventually, it was a good time when you hike for 3 or 4 or 5 days and then you make it in town and you have no food left. That's the key. That's what you want to happen. I pretty much nailed that, in the middle of the hike, towards the end of the hike, I was able to do that.
So what were you doing for your food? Were you doing dehydrated food or something else?
Yeah, so I started with just the classic like ramen bomb. You take ramen, you add some instant mashed potatoes to it. You basically add like the kitchen sink to this ramen mix, which was great. It was cheap, it was great and everything. But I found it was just better for me to, a lot of times there's going to be a gear shop or a Walmart and they sell those dehydrated backpacking meals. Now they're easier, but they're also more fuel efficient with nutrients. And me being, just a smaller person, like I need to grab everything that I could get. So ended up dinners would be those, fancy backpacking, dehydrated meals. The key is you want to eat on the hike. So I had a nice little pouch on the back of my backpack, was able to reach around, grab a protein bar like every other hour. And just keep that. And then, try to make a designated time where you sit down for lunch and then have something else where you could just put together maybe like a wrap or a tuna packet add some stuff in it. Always try to eat like a breakfast, like an oatmeal with coffee in the morning. Don't just pop up and not eat anything. And electrolytes, every other liter I filtered, I was adding electrolytes to. So
interested.
What about just a bottle of vitamins? Did you bring a bottle of vitamins, anything like that, or just rely on what you
vitamins
ate?
I brought was vitamin I, ibuprofen,
okay.
And then the antibiotics and prednisone I was on.
Oh wow, interesting.
And
So
Benadryl helped, and a daily like a allergy, like a Claritin in the morning, that kind of helped me because I normally don't take that in real life, but I ended up taking that every morning.
wow. So like the hiker hunger and stuff like that, like it said you talked about that. So like to me, whenever I hike, even on these long trips, I need to refuel myself probably every hour. Stuff. I need something to eat. I need a lot to drink and stuff like that. So like, what is this hiker hunger? How long does it take you to actually, your stomach start to turn and be like, hey, I need something to eat and get some energy? Yeah,
it took a couple of weeks for it to come into effect because I, by the end of my little like 3 or 4 day section, when I hit a trail, I'd still have food left in my food bag. So it took a couple of weeks for it to really kick in and for me to start, eating these calories with ease, because eventually, when I got to town, I was eating a good dinner where, in real life, it'd take me a little longer. Maybe I'd get full, maybe I'd take a doggy bag, but on trail, that's done at the table. And then when we get to the hotel, maybe we'll get something else. You know what I mean?
Nice. That's just crazy. It's just sometimes it's crazy how long these thru hikers go without not without something to eat, but with just so minimal. Like you said, like a protein bar or a ramen noodles. I like when I go on my hiking things, I have massive amounts of food so I can enjoy it.
Well, you get to know like when you resupply, you get to know what protein bars are better than others. You know, you're going to find the one that's like 650 calories as opposed to 250 calories. You know, you're going to learn what beef sticks have 2 grams of protein and what's have, 22 grams of protein. So you really just like, that's, and you just like kind of just continuously just eating. Like, I know, like, all right, I got a big climb coming up. I'm gonna get some calories in me before the climb, so I have that energy to, hit the peak and then come back down.
Yeah, it's strategic planning and stuff. And this is also, your experience with like the through hiking and stuff, the long hikes that you do. So you kind of were like the trail father out there, and probably were just like, you're like the Italian guy smoking the cigarette on the side, just like, I told you shouldn't have fucking done that, you fucking idiot. Yep. Like, it's that's what I see. I see people, you should have freaking done that, like the post holders up here were just like, you stupid idiot, what the hell are you doing? Huh? So, I always ask, like, one of my favorite, like, questions with the AT through hikers, and everybody's different and stuff, like, especially with the 2,000 miles, over 2,000 miles. What is your favorite section of the trail? Where I don't know what sections means in terms of AT, like distance, but like, what is your favorite spot?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of broken down in a couple different things. So the best trail section was the small section of Franconia Ridge. That was just, you didn't feel like you're on the planet Earth. And we caught it with like bluebird skies and everything. Yeah, it was, I think we got it on a weekend. Yeah, it was crowded. Yeah, there was the conga line going down the trail. But man, you're walking that ridge and it's only like, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles, but damn, you could see like 360s around you. But that was just a small section. Other sections that were cool, like down south, I think Virginia, the Roan Highlands and the Grayson Highlands. That was the first time you got up to a peak and you weren't in woods. You were on a bald, grassy peak and you felt like you were in Ireland. I mean, so sick. And I was only like 500 miles in at that point. So that was so sick. I really liked Vermont. I didn't get the taste of Vermont normally, because normally it's mud Vermont, but it was so dry that there was no mud. So Vermont was really, really cool. Lush pines, just you're starting to get some elevation. But Maine took my heart. Maine definitely, just camping by ponds and everything. Maine was the only state that I'd never been to previously this hike. And damn, man, Maine was cool. The Shenandoahs were cool too. The cool thing about the Shanties was once you do the initial climb, you're on the ridge. So you're on the ridge for a few days and you're not really going back down. And then they have those waypoint sides, which is like a little general store that sells like milkshakes and barbecue and whatnot. So that was pretty cool to take advantage of during the summer. But yeah, Maine, if I had to pick, I would lock it down with Maine.
It's because of like the secludedness. Did you see any moose?
I saw one moose.
Ah, jealous.
All of us were camping. We woke up. We were 9 times out of 10. You were camping on a pond, which should have been called a lake, but I think it's not as deep, so that's why they call it a pond. But I just had this feeling that I was going to see a moose. It was like our second day in Maine, so I got up early, got my coffee, and walked over to the shore. And my buddy, the little 18-year-old, was cowboy camping on the shore. Everybody else was in tents. No one was up. But he got up because he was cowboy camping. I was standing right next to him. I look across the pond. It's like just sunrise. And a moose came. It was too far to like touch or see, but with my camera, I zoomed in and it's like slow motion walking. And I woke him up and he couldn't believe it. And then we're like, oh my God, I can't believe how big that thing was. And then we rewatched the video and we're like, dude, that was a fucking baby moose. Like, but still big.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of people, that I've chatted with along the AT have, their sections. Like you said, Franconia Ridge. I've been there. The Tads, you've been there too as well. It's just absolutely stunning piece of trail just to hike. And then what is it? It's the Grayson Highlands. Is that where you meet the wild horses and stuff?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I've heard. A lot of people have been like just blown away by wild horses coming up to you and being near you, and just
the Grayson Highlands was really cool and unique for me because I knew it was limited camping in the Grayson Highlands. So you could either camp at the shelter or walk another half mile and camp in this grassy land with rhododendrons surrounding it. And I think I caught it on the weekend. So I bypassed the shelter. I went to the grassy lawn, and everybody and their fucking mom was camping there. So they all tended to go around into the rhododendrons with a couple going on the grassy balds. And I'm pretty antisocial, so I tried to stay away from everybody. But it was smart because I didn't want to just stay in the middle of the grassy land because I know all this wildlife is running around. So I found these 3 cluster of trees in the middle of the grassy lands, and then my little tiny tent fit in between. I woke up and so sunsets come in, the ponies come out, wild cattle come out with huge horns, and then they go away. And then in the middle of the night, I hear something like someone's snoring or someone's, whatever. And I'm like, what asshole decided to camp right next to me at all this? So then, I wake up and I look out, it's dark, and it's all the fucking cattle and ox, whatever you call them. There's like 7 or 8 of them sitting all around my camp, which is surrounded by those 3 little trees. I can hear them chewing, farting, snoring, and they're all just looking at me. It's all good. I was just one with the cattle that night, and I was the only one out there camping with them, so it was pretty cool.
You're probably like, well, I didn't post this on the Far Out app. What the hell? Get away from me.
Yeah. You think they would have better banners.
No, that's their land. They're just like, get the hell away from here. I grace this land. I'm the one that maintains this.
Yeah, I think it was all respect though. I didn't bother them, they didn't bother me, but we were within each other's company. It was pretty cool.
That's fantastic. I've always wanted to go down there. That might be my next spot.
Oh, yeah.
You told us before when you were working, you wouldn't take 0 days. You'd either work or you'd be going someplace to hike for a day hike, or weeks off. You'd be off backpacking, camping, whatnot.
Yeah.
But what about on your AT adventure? Did you take 0 days, and what were they like, and what was the best of the 0 days?
Yeah. Yeah. So I actually, I didn't end up taking a 0 day until I hiked for like a month and a half until I linked up with my tramley. What I was doing before then was I was taking Neros, which is like a near zero. So you hike like 2 miles, get to a hostel, and then you have the whole day as opposed to, hiking 12 miles into that day. But yeah, I took about 22 0 days out of the 5 months. So realistically, if I went straight through, it would take me 4 months and change to hike the AT. But yeah, I mean, you got to take zeros. You got, if you're not taking the Nero, sometimes maybe link up a Nero with a 0. So it's half and then a full day. Because, you got to want to put your feet up every once in a while, take a good shower, not rush around to resupply, hang out, have a proper dinner with the people you're hiking with. Yeah, the most memorable 0 was during the heat wave. It was, I think, late June. We made it all the way up to PA, and that's when it started getting dry, and it was unsafe to keep on hiking. So there's a little town called Boiling Springs. That's where I got off. And one of my trail members rented out an Airbnb with a pool for all week. And
wow.
We all knew that he was a Southern gentleman, man. He took the bill. All 6 of us or whatnot. went into the little house. We all had our bed and whatnot. We were so appreciative of the AC. It was so hot that week that you couldn't even go into the outdoor pool before 5 p.m. because you had to wait until there was a shadow casted from the backyard shed over the pool. So you weren't, sweating to death. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And they had it's like an old farmhouse, I guess. So they had 2 cats, outdoor cats on the premises. And, I had just lost my cat. So I got buddied up with those 2 cats in the backyard every night. Pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So I guess the note that anybody who's thinking of doing the AT is part of your trail family needs to be some really, really rich person that's going to rent an Airbnb for the whole week and put you up, right? That's like the trail essential is somebody with a credit card with a big debt limit on it.
Shout out to my guy, Tex. That's the guy, Tex.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to reach out to him and find out when he's doing it next, and that's when I'm going to do the AT.
Yeah,
right. With his style. Yeah. So what there comes a point where you know that you're like just a couple days away from finishing. Emotionally, what's that like? You've been out there for 4+ months, closing in on 5 months. Got a few days to go. You're presumably pretty tight with these people.
Yeah.
And the end is nearing. So what's going through your head?
Yeah. Well, and in my head, like I'm living my dream. So it's like so mixed. Some of the people are, they're done. They're over it. Some people feel the same way. It was the stressful part, honestly, for me. I had a relationship at the time, and she was supportive throughout the hike and understanding, but at the same time, you don't really know how it is, and it's hard. It's hard to be in a relationship with somebody, and of course you miss them, but at the same time you're doing this thing that you dreamt for half a decade. So yeah, I could have kept on going, man. I was sad to have it, sad to have it end. I remember, we were crushing it. We basically started with the bubble, and then we kind of accelerated a little bit. So we were like above the bubble before like a week or two. So it kind of helped when we got all the trail magic and whatnot. But like towards the end, I was like, dude, I want to slow down, man. I want to see the fall. I want to see Maine in the fall. Like I want to see these colors, because the group I was hiking with were ready to finish in late August before September 1st. So we kind of compromised. I think I finished September 4th, but yeah, I wasn't ready for it to end, and I could have kept on going, man.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say you don't hear that often, but you kind of don't. Like a lot of people are just like, man, it's been 5 months. I'm ready to go back. And then some people,
the younger guys in the group, they were definitely done. I mean, if it was funds or if it was, they were over it. But one of the, and the older lady, I think she was ready at the time. She was actually, name's Golden. She finished her Triple Crown with the AT hike with us. So she had to do the other 2 ones before, and which makes it really more special is she did it with cancer. And
wow,
she did that.
Huh.
Yeah,
crazy.
Wow.
So back in just before Christmas, I'm driving down to JFK to pick up my older daughter, who was finishing her 2nd year living out of her car, driving around the country, rock climbing and such. And I pick her up and we're heading back upstate in really, really slow moving traffic. And my daughter, who has a degree in neuropsychology, of all things, is telling me what it's like for her, as she puts it, re-entering society. Because when she's out with her rock climbing friends, wherever it is right now, she's in southern Utah. She says that just one day blends into the next. The only time of day that's relevant to you is when the sun comes up and when it goes down. The rest of the day, whether it's noontime or 10 o'clock or 2 o'clock, it really doesn't matter so much. And we don't talk about planning anything other really than that day or maybe the next morning. And she says, so it's a really weird thing for her to get back into society where people just are working at a faster pace. They're worried about things. They're juggling a lot of different responsibilities and whatnot. And she just wanted to remind me that, it takes me a few days to think about planning for this or planning this and what we're going to do on Tuesday and whatnot. Did you go through anything like that where you for 5 months, what you're doing pretty much the next morning, the next day, the day after that? It's like Groundhog Day, day after day after day. What was it like to just step out of that routine and come back into society?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely experienced that. And that was probably harder than hiking the AT, honestly. And here I am sitting, I think I am 5-6 months post finish hiking, and I still don't know how to deal with it. Yeah, just, coming back to Long Island, there's so many people here on the island, it's you're stopped at a red light. There's just so many cars. It's just, it's a mind fuck towards you. And it's, the first couple of weeks, it's okay. I got kind of like the pass to, chill out. I just hiked over 2,000 miles. But then after that's I think when the post-hike depression comes in. After you're rested, okay, my joints don't hurt anymore. But now what? It's even hard to go out and hike. I mean, for one thing, it was hard to do any hikes after that because I was, in a relationship, and I felt like it was important to stay local and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So I actually ended up not even hiking in the fall, my favorite time of year. The previous fall, I started the Adirondack high peak, so that was my plan to do it when I got off the AT. But I didn't even do that because, I was trying to assemble my priorities and be there for, the relationship or whatnot. But even if those hikes did happen, it's really hard to compare to like such a journey of the AT because you hike for the day, you come back. The AT, it's like, you're building blocks, you keep on going. So I don't know. I'm still there. 5 weeks post. 5 months post. But eventually something's going to kick in. I don't know. I feel like my Florida trip helped a lot. I got to see some family. I got to accomplish another little mini through hike or whatnot. And then, for the first time in my life, since my dog died and my cat died, I never thought I would do that again. I never thought he asked me to adopt another dog. As great as it was, I don't think I could ever do it again. But maybe I am that guy that needs a dog. I'm single. I don't have kids. I'm in a spot where I could do it, and maybe I need that. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. What about another through hike?
Yeah, or I'm doing another through hike. So
right, there's plenty out there. There's the long path up in Vermont. There's the long trail up in Vermont. There's a long path here. There's New Hampshire, the Cohoes Trail, stuff like that, man. And then you also, Shawn, have us. You have the podcast, you have your friends, you have the podcast people that have followed you and stuff like that. If you need anything, reach out to us, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate it because I think I got into listening to your podcast right around when I started tracking my miles in 2019. Because when did you start? 2018?
Oh, I started 2022, I think.
Oh, you started after that. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I did.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. That was the other Inside the Line you were listening to.
This podcast, Stash, was actually, I forget what year it was, but I had a coworker. I forget if I was a CNA or an LPN, but I had a coworker, and she started talking about. I don't know if she was your cousin or she was a niece, but she said you had a podcast about the Catskills because I was driving up to Catskills every weekend, and I think her name was Kayla. Do you have a family name named Kayla?
Hold on. I got to think. Shit, is she from Long Island down in Massapequa?
Blonde. I think she's a single mom.
Well, no shit. Kayla. Hold on, I forgot her last name. Yes, I do have a Kayla. No shit.
Yeah, so that's how I got into listening to this podcast.
Is she from Unadilla? Like,
I forget. I don't know. I mean, somewhere here on the island.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, that's like, once again, like if you reach out to me, reach out to Tad, and, if you need any help and assistance, I don't mind taking the time off to maybe like shuttle you somewhere or something like that and have you connect with the trail once again to get you away from, what you're dealing with, man. I can't say I understand because I've never been there in that situation, but I do understand like post-hike depression of when you have those magical moments and you get back and you're like, fuck, I got to go back to reality.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, amazing. So like, are you like, what is your plans on like in the future? Are you already planning on your next through hike? You coming back up to the Catskills and meet and greet of everybody? What's your plans?
Yeah, I don't.
You got the grid, Ted.
Exactly. Yeah, I was really, I was about to step foot and really start the grid, and then I went down to Florida and did those trails. But now that I got to get back up there, man. It's been a while. It's been over a year since I've been in the Cats. The grid's always there, so I think it'd be cool to be chipping away at that. Yeah, I think I would like to wait until it's a little bit warmer so I could camp somewhere up there, because it's kind of a wash if I have to get a hotel every night. But I'm available right now. Unfortunately, I'm unemployed. Obviously, I'm going to look for a job and whatnot, but you got to have a balance. So if I could, do that and do the hikes at the same time and whatnot, I think, it's a setup for success that way. So you got to take care of the mental health with the reality. Hopefully I could do it at the same time. Maybe adopt a dog in between. Who knows?
Yeah. And maybe there's like a group out there of post-AT hikers who get together and, talk about their post-AT experiences and help one another out and go hiking or weekend backpacking or something. And tell each other how they cope and get by, and then maybe plan that next 6 months off from society and go out and do what makes them happy.
Sure. Yeah. Me and my family, we've spoken to, come together in the springtime, maybe go down to Tennessee, Virginia area and do trail magic for the AT hikers this year. So
yeah,
that sounds fantastic.
Yeah. It's a crazy thing that, we live in this world where there really are no rules that we have to have as a society. They're all made up, the use of money as opposed to bartering, taxes, government, yada, yada. I mean, all these rules are things that we construct and prescribe on ourselves or our society does, but we could reorder things differently. And one of the things I think we should reorder differently is everyone should get like 5 years off during their working life. And if you want to take it in a block, 5 years in a row, or 1 year every fifth year, which a friend of mine, his job gives him every fifth year, he gets off the entire year. It's a crazy thing. He gets paid for that fifth year. It just means instead of making X dollars more, it's factored into what he makes per annum, that the fifth year he generates no production. But I look at, I've known this guy since we were both teenagers, and what a remarkable life he's had fitting into the work environment in a job that gives him that 5th year off. And what a great thing it would be. I look back on my life, I say, I wish, had I known, I would have been a high school history teacher, because you get all that time off.
True.
Every year you show up in September, you teach the same stuff. History doesn't change, right? The Civil War is what it was. So any young listeners out that are like searching for a career, high school history, that's my advice.
There you go. Good.
Yeah. So to wrap things up, Shawn, grateful to have you here. But the last question doesn't have to be in the Catskills. It can be wherever you went along that 2,000-mile journey of the Appalachian Trail. Post-hike brews and bites. What do you suggest that people go get that just blew your mind? Not just the Catskills, but anywhere.
Yeah. I don't know. So when I was doing the Catskills, it was before the AT, so I was still dealing with like social anxiety and everything. So I didn't have the balls to go to a restaurant by myself. But surprisingly enough, after the AT, you don't give a fuck about any of that. So like I was finding myself like in restaurants and stuff by myself, let alone, with my trailing members. But yeah, the go-to spot, would be just, a brewery that's in walking distance of like the hotel or hostel or whatnot. And, I'm not a beer drinker, so I'm always the guy with the cider and,
Nice.
Get a big meal, something, a lot of protein and dessert on top of that. And yeah.
And head on the trail.
Yeah.
I like your style. I definitely do. Yeah. So, Shawn, I really appreciate you joining us tonight. I really appreciate you telling us about your amazing story of hiking the AT, 2,000 miles of just probably endless memories that you'll never forget. And, you sharing those memories with us tonight. I greatly appreciate it. A big thank you once again to the monthly supporters and the monthly sponsors of the show. Big thank you to everyone who is still listening to the show. 211 episodes in, Shawn comes in and talks about his amazing story of going on the Appalachian Trail. And Shawn, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us tonight.
Guys, my pleasure, man. You guys have a great podcast. Big fan, man.
Thanks, Shawn.
Yeah, thank you for supporting us. Thank you for tagging us in your journey along the Appalachian Trail. We loved following you, and I loved hearing every time your silence of you not speaking. Now she speaks.
I like how you guys bust my chops. And when you guys say about like you guys should hire like someone to read the sponsors and whatnot, like Ted, you were saying like a Russian or whatever. Mm-hmm. Ted, you have the radio voice. You should be the one saying those sponsor things. You got that white man Barry White.
That white man. Oh, ooh, I'm reaching through the microphone now. I have my hands around Shawn's neck.
I don't know.
Back and forth.
That's like the sexy voice. You know what I'm saying? Like,
all right, now Stosh is hitting on me. This is totally bad. But this is what I do for my listeners. I take this abuse because I know they're on their way, whether it's the Catskills, the Adirondacks, or even to Stewart's. I want to entertain them, inform them, and just pass on the good vibe.
True. So
yeah, and Shawn, I'm really glad that we got you to hook up with Rachel, Jean, and Josh, and they kind of lifted your spirits when you had that spider bite. That's pretty cool. So.
That was really, and not only like we got to hook up, but like they were from Long Island. Mm. They were fucking punk rockers like me. Like they were just by people, So it was too cool. It was too cool.
Awesome.
Nice. Once again, Shawn, thank you for joining us on the show. Hope you have a good time. And so hopefully we'll see you in the future. We'll get together.
Hell yeah, man. Sounds good.
Have a good night.
Too, man. Thank you again.
Hey, everyone. I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking news, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you gotta just keep on living in the Catskills, man. Livin.
wicked.